Everybody, it's Peter again, out for another walk. The sky is clear, but pretty darn cold for an April in California. The last time I gave a brief review of Google Bard, but it's really based on other people's input. So I figured this time I'd dig into Bard myself and compare it to the current champion of the world, ChatGPT, and this is what I found. I'm a bit of an astrophysics buff, so I wanted to ask the question, why is the universe expanding? I started with ChatGPT, and the answer was less than satisfying. The description that it started with was more of a what is the phenomenon of the universe expanding versus the why, which is really what I was curious about. Then it went on to give a little of the history of the phenomenon, which is fine, but it continued to describe the what versus answer my question of why. Finally, in the last question, it does begin to describe why, which is the presence of dark energy. But it waited until the very end to answer my primary question. So overall, I'm less satisfied with ChatGPT's response. I proceeded to ask Bard the same question. In this case, Bard gave me a pretty good answer to start. It started by saying that the universe expansion is caused by dark energy, which is the commonly accepted reason among scientists. It proceeded to give me a little history, which is similar to what ChatGPT did, which is really good. And then it concluded with the description of what dark energy is, which is a mysterious force that nobody fully understands. So instead of giving a super confident answer of what dark energy is, without knowing what it is, Bard gave a measured answer that is the consensus of the scientific community. So overall, I'd give Google pretty high marks. I gave ChatGPT another chance because with these language models, as you know, you seldom get the same answer twice. But the answer that it gave me the second time was not much of an improvement over the first answer, mimicking pretty much the same response. For round one, I give the nod to Google Bard. I'm also a bit of a DIY or do-it-yourself investor and day trader, so I wanted to see how smart Bard and ChatGPT are when it comes to investment advice. So I asked the question, what is the best option play if I'm bearish on the stock market in the next 3 months, but bullish 12 months out? I start again with ChatGPT, which began by giving a disclaimer that it's only a language model and it's not qualified to give financial advice. This must be a guardrail that OpenAI put into place, and I think it's pretty cool. As I read through the response for the meat of the answer, I find that it gives a pretty good strategy and a clear explanation of what to do. It says here, one possible strategy you could consider is a bear put spread. This involves buying a put option at a lower strike price and simultaneously selling a put option at a higher strike price. The idea behind this strategy is that profit potential is limited to the difference between the strike prices of the two options, but the loss potential is also limited. So not only did it give the name of the strategy, but describes exactly what to do. It did, however, leave an essential component of any option play, and that is the expiration date for each position. However, I think I can let this slide, and this is probably a bit too intricate for a language model, and the answer that it gave was enough for me to work with. Of course, whether the strategy works or not will depend on my own prediction that the market will be bearish in the short term and bullish in the long term. It concluded with another guardrail disclaimer that investing is risky, so act accordingly. Pretty cool. Now it's Bard's turn. Unfortunately, it stumbled out of the gates. It recommended selling a put, which is actually a terrible idea. Not to get into the weeds of the strike price of the put option or the duration, but selling a put is usually not a great idea if you think the market will go down. The example in the second paragraph shows even more flaws. Selling a put does not give you the right to sell your stock holdings. It's actually the opposite and gives someone else the right to sell it to you. In other words, someone would have the right to buy low and sell high to you if the market declines. This is very possible in a bear market and not good if you're obliged to buy. At this point, Bard has already lost my confidence. I don't trust its advice at all. The next two paragraphs incorrectly gives the next steps of the same strategy, but is confused about the position it previously proposed. So Bard is no better or much worse than a drunk uncle at a party giving investment advice. Round 2 clearly goes to ChatGPT. My next test was to ask the models to draft a proposal for me to sell software into Walmart. I didn't have high expectations here, just wanted to see how much work it could save me. I started out with Bard this time. The response was not bad. As expected with language models, it's pretty good at drafting a document with all the proper formatting and common sections of a proposal. In this case, it had an executive summary, problem statement, proposed solution, deliverables, and even a timeline and milestones. I assume Bard learned these facts about Walmart when it was trained, but there was no way for me to really tell if these are real or not unless I knew something about Walmart's needs myself. Also, it had no idea what capabilities my software has. Given all these constraints, I'd say Bard did a pretty good job. Now on to ChatGPT. The response was a little more brief than Bard's, but it did capture the essence of a proposal. Outlining key points of a proposal was good, and the tone was nearly perfect. Again, we've come to expect by now that these language models are pretty good at this kind of stuff. So I think this round is a tie between ChatGPT and Bard. For my last test, I set the bar pretty high. I asked the models not only to draft a proposal to sell AI software, but specifically my company's software. AI Blocks is a fairly new company, so information was not readily available on the internet 2 years ago when the cutoff was done for training data. As expected, ChatGPT offered pretty much the same response it gave previously, with a minor insertion of the words AI blocks. And here you see Bard pretty much did the same thing. So round 4, like round 3, is a tie between ChatGPT and Bard in my mind. This was a brief and unscientific head-to-head comparison, but my take was Bard was not as bad as many people profess. And as I said previously, don't count out Google. They are well-funded and obviously have strong motivation and incentives to compete well in these ongoing battles. So just going back to what I said about Bard and ChatGPT not knowing about AI blocks, it's the same way about your organization. These models can do some miraculous things, but they need to learn about you to really be effective for you. That's where we come in. So check us out. See you later.